Greetings, everyone. Your cartoonist pal Stan here with another episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in tabletop role playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons, and I use them together with input from you, the folks in the live chat room, uh, and the aid of electronic die rolling app, an electronic die rolling app, hard to say that sometimes, and to randomly create a cartooning prompt by selecting a who, a subject, a thing, a creature, and a what, a situation or an activity or something. And I put those two together, and then I draw them. I draw them while you're watching, while we're chatting. Talk about what I'm thinking about. Talk about the what I think creatively for the joke. What I think about when I'm the act of drawing, some drawing tips, answer your questions when you've got them, and together we have a good time. We kill an hour, hour and a half together drawing 3 different randomly generated prompts. That's what it's all about. Kind of like the hokey pokey. Hello to Ravenlore and hello to Michael Pastor. Thank you guys for showing up. Always glad to see you. Yeah, here we go. We're already at the middle of January. I keep thinking, well, okay, the month is just of the year; it's just getting started, and I realize that we're already in the second half of January. How is this happening? But the good thing about that is that means we have another opportunity to do this. Will be the third show of the new year, I think, something like that. Um, yeah, thinking about what to think about. Ravenlore says, yes, that's the creative process. Um, a lot of people like to put it under a microscope and think about how they think about things. And some people, I think that most of the people who work professionally creatively mostly don't do that. We've learned that one of the keys to being successful at creating the things is to not think about it while you're doing it. On the other hand, a great many of us really like to think about it in at other times and spend hours talking about it. And of course, people write books and sell classes and various other things. I guess this is maybe my version of that light because I just come in here and draw and chat with you all. Hello, Fox Trick. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, having said all that, I'm going to grab my iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. Those are the tools I use here. Those are the tools I use for my professional work. Those are most of the tools I use for my fun drawing anymore. I say that none of this is sponsored. They're not sponsoring this. I just tell you that because people often ask me what tools I use. So I make sure to tell you. Don't want any questions. And I'll tell you the thing is, while I was talking to a friend of mine, guess this is going to delay our start for a second. I was talking to a friend of mine who was interested in getting into doing some drawing. Interestingly enough, and another friend who wanted to get equipment for their kid to get into doing some electronic uh, drawing digitally. And they asked me what um, the best tools to pick them were. What were the best things to get? And in the end, after answering their direct questions and telling them about what I used and why I used it and what like my machine is now 7 years old. Like as I've said a couple of episodes ago, when it's starting to hiccup a little, I'm really at a point where I need to start thinking about upgrading. But the fact of the matter is, except for the fact that the machine is beginning to show its age for having been used so much for so long, uh, while there have been a lot of really big advancements and a lot of really good, new chips and new an upgrade to there have been 4 or 5 upgrades to the iPad and two upgrades I think to the Apple Pencil since I started. Fact of the matter is this is fine and it works well, and I can continue to do fully professional stuff with this. And in fact, I could probably go half a notch lower and not have it affect my output. So the answer for you, and the answer I gave to my friends, is the cheapest thing possible that works. Like I personally am a fan of the Apple ecosystem, and I like Procreate, which is only available to be used on iOS. So that's important to me, but I don't think it's important to everyone. So finding the lowest cost thing that works for you, that's how you start, because the main thing is to start doing it. And as you do it, you will learn after a while what things you'd like to do differently, and then you can look with knowledgeable eyes at what what does that better, and kind of upgrade from there. But you can go in for, at this point, a basic iPad Air is just about as powerful as the iPad Pro I'm using from 7 years ago. So you can get in relatively cheap. Um, I should sell them my old stuff. The problem is my stuff is so old; it really is not that valuable. Like I can get about $200 trade in, 200 to maybe if the pencil gets a good trade in value, I might get close to 300, maybe a little over 300. Um, because I've there've been so many changes. It's just not uh, um, 7-year-old iPad doesn't have a high trade in value. It does, however, have a high value in usage and what you can do with it. There you go. Wow, that was a lot more than I intended to say, but I say I'm happy to answer questions and talk about this stuff. So let's come over here. I'll come over here and switch to a different view where you can now see the encounter tables um, for tonight's show, for tonight's drawings. These are what I'll be using, and of course input from you guys. So keep thinking as we're talking about things. Put suggestions into the live chat. And whenever possible, I do like to use your guys' suggestions. I have a dream that someday I can start doing this show, and it'll be a large enough audience, a large enough participating audience, that I can almost do without the encounter tables. The encounter tables are good; it's a good hook for the show. But I love when we're interacting and you guys come up with really good ideas, things that I would never have thought of. That's what I like. That's fun about this to me, is the creative challenge of drawing something that I is not coming out of my own head, just a new idea, and I've got to come up with something and make it work. So let's come up with something and make it work. Let's go here. We're gonna roll the dice. We're gonna go once or twice, a third time. Come on, now here we go. Roll a bunch, and we got a 2. 2 is our first 2, and roll it a bunch, and 3. 3 is our first what? So we'll come back here and see that that is a Ratling Ice Fishing. Okay, Ratling is a humanoid rat creature. Sometimes I've put on the list a were rat. Ratling, were rat, of course, is like a werewolf. A were rat is someone who's has lycanthropy and changes under certain conditions from a human to a rat. A ratling is a natively rat creature. So we've got a Ratling Ice Fishing. So we're going to turn off the sketch. So we're going to turn off the tables, and we're going to come to our sketch. I do my sketching in blue, which is a throwback to my days doing drawing on physical media. And so we're going to have a Ratling Ice Fishing. We're going to have them out here. I suppose, in theory, now I lived in Wisconsin for a couple of years, and that gave me, if not a personal appreciation of ice fishing, a more nuanced understanding of it. Because ice fishing is a huge deal there in Wisconsin. So you can give our rattling earmuffs. That seems like a good thing. And a scarf. The question is, wonder as we got a hole in the ice and the line going down into it. When I wrote down the options for this week, I do sometimes, understandably, think about, ooh, if these two come up together, I can draw this, I can draw that. I didn't really have any thought about rattling and ice fishing, and I'm not sure. Bigger hole there, maybe. So we could have something coming up like what the rattling has caught on its line. And there's some cues that uh, lent themselves to funnier options. Can't really think of a good rat related one. There's no cheese fish. I suppose in theory there's a catfish joke to be made, but catfish, well, first of all, catfish aren't the kind of fish you get when you're ice fishing. But I don't know. I don't know. Hello there, Linnea. Yes, yes, live art. Who would have thought it on a Thursday night, no less? We've got a Ratling Ice Fishing. I don't know. What do you guys think? I can start working on the rattling. What do you think about what we might have the rattling fishing pulling up out of the ice or nibbling up the line? Maybe just keeping it this simple is the best idea. I always say keep it simple and then I complicate it up. All right, that's enough sketching there. Go to our lines layer. Switch over to an inking color, and I always say start with the lines that you feel most confident in. One of the beauties of working digitally is you can easily erase anything you draw, but all drawing is a process of building, and so you want to lay down the lines that are you're confident in you're confident that you won't have to change, because if you have to change them, everything that's built on them will have to change too. All right, so we're going to come in here. And got the rat ears. A little too furry on that second one. And we're going to have earmuffs because it's cold. Any of you ever done any ice fishing? I said I was familiar with it as a concept. And then when I lived in Wisconsin, I got to meet people that enjoyed ice fishing, told me about the wonders and the beauty of ice fishing, and it sounded really good for them. Still didn't sound like much fun for me. Not not a big fan of uh, cold weather. Cold weather activities uh, that don't help to keep you warm. There's nothing about sitting at a lake, a frozen lake, sticking a line into a hole in the ice that says keeping warm to me. I know that little a little tippling, little imbibing is very often the answer for those who do it, and it's one of the things they like. And I have nothing against that per se, but if I wanted to go have a nice drink, I just go have a nice drink. I don't need the going out onto the frozen lake part. There we go. I see people saying that they didn't do it and they can't understand why anyone would want to. I also, like I say, it's not for me. I don't denigrate it. I don't think the people who liked it, again, like I say, they told me why they liked it, and it made sense to me, right? I get it, just not for me. I'm not here to yuck anyone's yums. Okay, got our guy sitting on a block of ice. Again, just sounds cold and uncomfortable to me. Let me look up what we got. No real suggestions on what they might be. A king crab? That would be a strange thing to pull out of a. I mean, you say that, and the thing that makes me think of that might be funny that doesn't pull up is just full of box of fish sticks up. Because, that's you get those frozen. There we go. Now we've got a joke. It's not much of a joke, but it's mine. I think I'm going to avoid showing the breath there. All right. Looking good. We've got our little rat. Having pulled it. You know what? Maybe, I don't know. I'm toying around with that breath idea. Maybe we'll do that just with the color. Okay, looking good. Let's turn off the sketch and see how it's looking. We'll see what lines might need to be added. There's a lot that goes on while you're drawing. You put the sketch lines down as guides, and then you start adding on the finished lines. And um, when you have them both turned on, it creates, I don't know, I was going to say a false picture, but it's not a false picture. It's a double picture, but it's one that won't last, right? You want to get rid of your sketch lines when you finish your piece. But when you take them away, you'll sometimes notice, that's the stage where I'm at now, that without them there, you need some things you didn't draw. And that's all right. And that's just all part of the process. There we go. That looks good. So now we're going to go down to the colors layer. And I'm going to switch brushes. I use a brush that's a Procreate native brush. It's one of the ones that comes with it. It's called Gloaming. Not exactly sure why. I think what it gets is this, as you'll see, if you haven't. Most of the people in live chat have seen this before and heard it before, but I'm going to say it anyway. You, it gives a kind of crayony, markery feeling. Little translucent, right? It doesn't go on. It's not fully opaque. Right? If I go over the lines, you can still see through it. And I like that because those are loose, fun tools. Those are tools that you certainly can do finished, polished, professional work with crayons or colored pencils or markers, but you don't have to, right? They're also the kinds of things that you use, your kids might use, or you might use when you're just coloring around for fun. And that's why I like to use them here. I'm hoping that some of the things I talk about you can put to use when you're just coloring for fun. All right, then we're going to take a light pink, very pale pink, for the rat's hands and feet and tail. Nose. Um, and let's see, it's a cold day. We'll give him a leather jacket or a faux leather jacket if you prefer. I do a style of coloring here that I call shape within a shape, rather than filling um, the entire space of the jacket with an even flat color. I color the arm with this gloaming brush, and then I color the chest area looks like a shape, the back area certainly looks like a shape. So I find the shapes within the shapes. And that helps to provide an extra sense of, say it with me now, texture and three dimensionality. Again, I know most of you have heard me say that dozens and dozens of times. All right, and then maybe a green for the scarf. And what else do we need? We need to come and do the fishing pole. And we need to do our fish sticks box. So I think fish sticks box are golden. Golden hue. We need a dark blue for the water. And that's maybe a little too dark. It's getting into that faux black. See, the black that I did the ratling's fur is actually blue. It's a dark blue, which works great. The eye sees it as black, but particularly because I've already done that, if I pick the wrong dark blue for the water, it's going to look black too. Then we'll just put some reflective stripes on the ice like that. What else do I need? I think I need a little darker version of that for the inside of the ice hole. And for the blue, we need a lighter version of the blue for the water that's dripping off the box. And that's looking pretty good. What do I want to change up here? I want to come back, and this little spot is bugging me. But then we're going to put a little bit of shading, not a lot, but a little bit of shading to help, again, give that idea of three-dimensionality and texture. So we're going to just find the underside, and in this case, the right side of the things that we're drawing, and just put a little line of a darker version of that color. It feels like a shadow. Hello, Owen K.C. Stevens. So glad you could make it. How are you doing tonight, my friend? Folks, for those of you who don't know, that is Owen K.C. Stevens, a very, very talented game designer, my business partner and longtime friend, who's able to join us tonight, which is fun. All right. So I just want to add a little. So here's we often talk about shading. Now the eyes, if I take that out, right, they just look very flat and white. And I want to give some kind of sense that they have a shape. It's just a slight curve. So by putting a little bit of a bluish shadow at the bottom, that it just does it for your eye. Your eyes will tell you that's a shadow on the outside. The only way it can get that way is if this thing is round. See above for how you're doing. He's still treading water. Okay, well, there you go. You enormous ice hole. Nothing like a Johnny Dangerously joke. All right, so just gonna look at this and say that looks good, or good enough for me to call it done. This whole thing is about doing quick, fun, not necessarily finished and polished. We're just going to have some fun. So it's done enough that I feel I can put my stand there at the bottom, because I think when you finish something, put your name on it. Tell the world you did it and it was fun. With 1 minute to go. Yes, I do like to keep these about half an hour. 1 minute to go. I will sometimes run under. More often, I will sometimes run over. There we go. A Ratling Ice Fishing is our first drawing of the night. Da 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 ba da da. Done. Have a little sip. Prime meridian, anti-meridian, all the little meridians. On a bus, on a bus. They took the bus. When's the last bus? Oh, Johnny Dangerously. You shouldn't hang me on a hook, Johnny. My mother hung me on a hook once. Once. For those of you who have not seen it, I was going to say a good. I'm not sure. A very funny, very cheesy, very early Michael Keaton movie, Johnny Dangerously. Okay, so that's good. Let's try to think if I have anything I want to talk about. Gonna close out round one, turn it off, turn on round two, and turn back on our encounter tables. Um, I'm thinking. So, it's Owen being here reminds me that there is a thing I wanted to talk about, at least a little, and I didn't prepare images for to share with you. But Owen and I, as I say, are work together. We're co-owners in the company Rogue Genius Games, and the company is getting ready to have a crowdfunding project starting hopefully next Monday. There's still some details to be worked out, but it's looking like next Monday. So that's the goal, and if not, it'll be soon afterwards. And it is, you know what? I usually try to keep all um, politics out of what I'm talking about here because this is fun. This has some politics. I feel very strongly about what I feel. I just don't always feel like the need to talk about it. But I am not a fan of our upcoming administration. I think that there's a lot they did wrong in their last crack at the wheel, and I'm not so enthusiastic. And thankfully, Owen and I agree on that. And he has a terrific game that is going to be kickstarting called Just Trump Card. And the sub line on that game is it's a game about lying liars and the lies they tell. I think something like that. Lying liars and the lies they tell. Owen being in the chat on Facebook. If you're watching or on YouTube, if you're watching this on Facebook or one of the other channels, you won't be seeing this because this chat is happening on YouTube. Go to the YouTube channel if you want to find this out because I'm going to act a backer kit. Backer kit is where it's going to be. And Owen, why don't you put in the chat the link to where people can go to sign up to be informed about it. This won't commit anyone. The game of lying liars and the lies they lie about. There we go. Works perfectly. And I'm going to be doing art for this game, and I already have done a few pieces of art which are going to be seen in the backer kit project. It'll be released, so you may want to go there. You did? All right. He already did. Good. Psh. So smart. So yeah, check that out. I'm not saying you need to back it. And clicking the link on that thing won't commit you to anything other than getting information about it. And I think, if at the very least you want to see the art I did, that's the best way to do it. And then maybe you do decide that you want to play it, you want to own it, you want to tell your friends about it. That's always very helpful. Anyway, there you go. Please check that out. So let's go and do. I gotta wait another sip, and we'll have a little break. All right, we finished our first drawing. We had our rattling uh, ice fishing. Let's go back to the dice and do a second drawing now. So here we go. We're going to roll the dice. We're going to roll it up a bunch, and no. And oh wow, it really likes 2 today. 5. 5 is our next 2. And maybe I should just take the 2. 5. Repeat numbers. That's what the dice is on about today. Okay, so um, 5 is a satyr. And then we're either going to have the reading by the fire or ice sculpture. What do you guys think? I'll let you guys have some input. I did a bunch of re-rolling. I didn't let the dice speak clearly. I made them keep talking, and they've given us a choice. We got Satyr is for sure what we're doing. The half goat little guy. And either reading by the fire or ice sculpture. And I know that we've got a lag here, so I'll give you some couple seconds. And I mean, if you don't, again, no pressure. I can make a decision on my own, but I want you guys to feel involved. I want you should feel involved, if you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I want you to feel involved. Sculpture, modeling. Yes, well, this thing with either one of those, it could be the sculpture is the one that has a couple of different interpretations. It could be a sculpture, an ice sculpture of a satyr. It could be a satyr making an ice sculpture of something else, or it could be a satyr making an ice sculpture of a satyr. Readying by an ice sculpture of a fireplace. Then we could just slam them all together. Could be using the fireplace to melt the ice to create the ice sculpture. All right, let's get over here to our drawing area anyway. Make sure I've got my pens all set up right. And all right, I'm immediately thinking of a satyr which is similar to the way they were done in Fantasia. I don't know why in particular, but now I'm thinking about some pan flutes. And that being the sculpture. That is not working out legs-wise. There we go. A quick but serviceable sketch there. Let me look up and see. Think of Mr. Tumnus? Yeah. That's, yeah, Mr. Tumnus being turned into a sculpture by the White Witch. That's a good thought, too. We were just talking about Mr. Tumnus at lunch yesterday, interestingly enough. So now I'm thinking either I can keep this where it is and maybe have the sculptor working there on a ladder, That's one thing I could do. The other thing I'd do is I could move that whole thing over to the left, and then have some characters, maybe again the satyr looking in front of it, um, and making some kind of comment like, "Damn, I'm good looking." Barbecue lunch, yes, it's had barbecue lunch. This is a regular thing that happens here, has done for the last 30 years, almost 30 years, sure, over 25 years. Regular Wednesday barbecue lunch. Um, that if you're in the area, uh, you potentially could just kind of attend because it's just lunch at a restaurant. Let's see. All right. So left to my own druthers, I'm leaning towards the latter solution. That is the latter with a D, not latter with a T, because the latter solution is the prior solution, and the other solution is the latter solution. And I almost have a Abbott and Costello routine going there. All right. So now I just need to get a little bit of detail here. Okay, I think I'm liking this. I'm pretty sure I'm liking this. I'm so sure that I'm going to start drawing it for real. So come over to the lines layer. And again, as I say, we want to start with a line we're confident in, because that's what the rest of the drawing is going to be built around. And in this case, it's the arms. Now, one of the things about this being an ice sculpture is I'm going to want a lot of very clean lines. Rather than the kind of, in other drawings I might have come in here and had a lot of, of details. I want just the bare lines, because that's going to help it look like an ice sculpture. And I'm probably even going to go so far as to come back here afterwards and change these black lines into blue lines, which again is one of those fun things I can do because I'm working digitally. I'm not sure about that, but I think I'm going to give it a try. It also is a good excuse for me to just show you the how I would do that. Um, but now I'm going to come in and draw the artist. Hmm. Now again, because he's smaller and further away, I can't put as much detail on this, but it doesn't matter. In fact, if I try and fit too much detail in here, it'll just get confusing. But I can add a bit more in the way of those scribbly lines I was talking about before to add a little bit of texture on it. And we're going to draw a ladder here. Now, some of these things, like the ladder, I've just done that so many times that kind of have a shorthand and an idea of what I'm doing. And you, as a beginner, will have to develop those things. You won't, you probably, if you were to just try and draw a ladder without thinking about it, you'd get some percentage of the way through it and say, oh, it doesn't work like that. How does it work? Well, I've figured those basics out by making those mistakes. And so the problem, I guess the problem for me in thinking this is any kind of instruction, any kind of teaching tool, is that it makes it look easier uh, than it is for the people watching, because the way it gets that easy is by doing it. So, as I was saying to my friend Lala, um, you need to just embrace the mistakes. You need to know that when you do it the first time, no matter how easy it looks, you're going to make mistakes, and it's not going to come out looking the way you want it to. Not 100% anyway. And that's okay, because the truth of the matter is, even this is not coming out 100% the way I want it. But it's only the practice that lets you get to the point that you can start putting lines down and having them be close to what you want on the first or second try. Uh, and you can't let yourself get too worried if when it doesn't work for you as you're learning it. Right? That's the process. You have to go through that. There is no shortcut to that. There's no amount of listening to me talk or watching me do it or reading books by other art educators or learning the secret tips and tricks. None of that is going to replace the doing it and getting it wrong and doing it again and getting it maybe even if you get it right or partially right your first time through. As you do it more, you'll get it more right. You'll get it better. So, yeah, all I'm saying is let it happen. Let it flow. All right, I'm going to turn off the sketch layer here, and we're going to see that things are looking good. All right, I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to grab both of those layers, and I'm going to make them a little bigger so they fill the page a little more. Because I don't think we've got much in the way of a gag in this one. Oh, so here we go. Here's what I'm going to do for that ice thing. Now, that looks great, and it certainly looks, I can take, just add a couple of shine like that, and it begins to be clear that this thing is made of ice too, and that's terrific. But but it'll make it look even more so. If I, oh, did I just add those on the wrong layer? I did. What do I want to do about that? What do I want to do about that? I'll tell you what I want to do about that. Since they're the only thing that's on those layers are that. I'm going to grab them. I'm going to, there we go. I'm going to cut and paste them, which is going to put them on a separate layer. And I'm going to merge those together with the lines layer. And so now they're all on one layer together. I know I did that fast. You can figure that out. So what I'm going to do is there's a thing in Procreate called Alpha Lock. What Alpha Lock does is makes it so that you can only draw in areas that have already been drawn on. So, like for instance, let me just switch to a red color. Right now, I'm going to draw my pen across the left side of the page, and nothing is showing up. But if I draw it across the middle of the page, you will see that where it touches lines that are already there, it draws on that spot. So, I'm going to choose a blue, an icy blue. Maybe that. And I'm going to draw over the areas where the sculpture is. And all that black is going to turn blue. I want to make sure I don't hit my sculptor. Now, there are several ways I could achieve this same effect. This is the easiest and the one that will be most easily replicated no matter what drawing program you're using. If I do this and come on, there we go. Now everywhere I've got that black, it's now blue, and this looks more like it's a block of ice. There we go. So that's what's looking on the lines layer. And now we're going to go to the color layer. And I'll start with our sculptor. Make that pen size a little lower. And got that. We need a little bit of color for the goat legs, the goat fur. There's not a lot of, the smaller it is, the less the shape within a shape matters, because your eye is not going to be seeing the shapes. He's just a little guy. And hooves. There we go. And probably I'll make the horns the same color as the hooves. Now, here's another trick to do. Just noticing that I missed a little spot on the... There we go. So that the ice is all white, so we're just going to treat it like just a shading problem. We're going to take another blue. Too dark. It needs to be a very light, clean blue. And we're going to treat that doing it on the lines layer. Oh, is that a bad idea? It's a very bad idea. I want to do that on the colors layer. There we go. Much better. I often talk about this, how, you know, you can have many different objects in your drawings that are mostly white, but if you and by adding the by choosing a different color to be the shading color, you're gonna trick your viewers' brains into seeing the whole white as a different color. And I'll show you what I mean. Now we got that. Now we got the same thing over here with a cloud of shavings that he's put off back there. But I'm going to take that, and instead of being a clean white, I'm going to make that, or clean light blue, I'm going to make it a blue gray. It's the same thing. I'm just putting some little lines of it in there. But as I spread them throughout this, your eyes are going to start seeing. Now I'm going to switch to red so I can point to things. This white and this white look like different things. I'm pretty sure that effect is happening for you. It happens for most people. It happens for so often that you usually don't notice it. This is the same kind of thing that the blue dress or red dress uh, meme was based on. That optical illusion. Just give your brain a little bit of info, and it takes it and runs with it. And as an artist, you can play with that. All right, what else? Oh, I need to put some color on the ladder. Like that. Still not worrying a lot about it. Um, Another reason you might want to not, you might want to avoid putting too much detail or clarity into a thing is if it's not important. Because the more work you put on it, the more visual information you put on it, the more your viewer is going to look at it. And if this drawing is not about the ladder, I don't want to put info down that it makes people want to look there. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to switch. Oh, I did that all with my studio pen and not my gloaming pen. Huh. Huh. That's not working so great. I may not do what I'm thinking I'm going to do. On top of the dark colors that you get, for shadows, you sometimes want to put in light colors for highlights. But I don't think this is really happening. It's really working here. So I'm just going to stop. And we'll leave it like that. I think, in fact, kind of done. And there are other gags that I could try to work in here. And sometimes I do spend a lot of time working in gags just to make myself happy. But this time, I think I'm going to be smart enough to let it be. I don't want to find myself in times of trouble. So I'm just going to put a little stand in the corner. Then we got a satyr doing an ice sculpture. As so often happens, the artist makes himself look much better in their art than they do in real life. Second time you've heard of the dress meme has come up for you today, Michael? You know, maybe it's just back in the air. All right, so there we go. We've got ourselves a satyr doing ice sculpture. So cute. So cute. All right, one more quick sip. Blessed be the man who laughs at his own gags rather than gagging when he laughs. True words. True words. All right, let's clean this up and do one more, and then we will call it an evening. So we're going to close out the round 2, open up round 3, go back to the sketch layer, reset the blue, and my pen is on my inking pen, and we will turn on the encounter tables, and I need another sip, and then we'll do it. Perfect. Perfect. 2 drawings down. Let's do a third one. We're going to go back to the. Oh, no. We're going to go back to the electronic die roller. And we're going to roll one more time. Or 2 more times. We're going to roll another prompt. So let's go once or twice, a third time. Come on. Done a bunch of 6. 6 is adventurers, as we know. Once or twice, keep going, and 6. Sometimes doubles are just the order of the day. Thing about randomization is sometimes it doesn't look very random. All right, so that's adventurers and hot cocoa. I think I did that drawing last winter. Adventurers having hot cocoa. Oh, dice don't lie, I guess. But again, leave it open to you guys. I can certainly do adventures having cocoa again, or I can take some input from my audience and hear what you have to say. So this is your opportunity. Big chance you got a big time cartoonist here waiting to draw for you. All right, yeah, I'm here every Thursday, and I'm really not that big time a cartoonist, but it's fun, and it doesn't happen. Don't get this opportunity every day. Just made some cocoa. Yeah, cocoa. We're on adventures fighting a giant mug of cocoa. That's interesting. Lo and behold, I can count on Owen to come up with interesting ideas. Okay, well, let's turn off our encounter tables, and come on, there we go. So, let's see. I'm going to start with a big mug. I'm going to be sloshing over the side. And I just started thinking about what saying could be on the mud. That, of course, would I'd have to move the face a little to put any kind of saying on here, but that certainly seems doable. Um, Evil, warm Kool Aid man. That would be different. Okay, I'm gonna pop on a different layer right now. I'm gonna turn that one off because I like that sketch, but the idea of the Kool Aid man idea. Oh yeah. Be like that. Of course, if he's a Kool Aid man, he's breaking through the wall. This would almost certainly be an ice wall, but all right, move that up on the page a little so that we can have some room to put, I don't know, or make it bigger. Yeah, maybe make it bigger, and then down here we can put a couple of adventurers. They're going to be in cold weather gear. That guy's there. My usual fighter dude. And spellcaster, elven spellcaster. In a big puffy jacket. There we go. I don't know if you can see all that, but I can see it, and so I'm going to draw. I'm going to switch to our lines layer, and I think I'm going to start with the. So here's a corollary to the start with what you're confident in. I'm really confident in what's going on with that mug. I can see that. I can clearly see in my head, not just those lines I put down there, but how that's going to develop. The other guys, I'm not so sure, but they're up front, and the mug is going to be behind them. So I'm going to draw these guys down here first, because in a, let's say, a corollary, they're in front. Everything else is going to have to be behind them. So if I get them right, then once I get them right, I don't have to worry about them anymore. All right, he's wearing a big furry hat and a cloak. He's got his sword out. And again, kind of what I was saying last time, I'm I'm really kind of fudging the details on his body because he's small. If I get the 2 or 3 details right, like that sword being out front and the cloak covering a good portion of his body, you're as long as I don't suddenly make them seem like the focus by putting too much detail in there, your eye is going to just accept it. And I can get away with having less detail. And in fact, a little some of those color tricks will make it seem like more detail. It'll seem even more um, like I did even more than I did. I think he's gonna have gloves on. All right. So then we've got the elf here. Hmm. Gonna give him like a toque with a pom pom on top. And like I say, big puffy jacket. And mittens. That's the other fun thing. I was thinking about doing that for the fighter. That's not a good wand top. I want something good to go on. Give me an idea of what maybe could be on the top of the wizard's wand. Again, if you don't, I'll just think of something. But again, inviting you to participate. And now that they are there, and I can come back. We can see right now this wand top is going to be between this space where the legs and the feet for the mug is. So I can leave that blank and do that last. So here's another opportunity for you to come up with something. The wizard's wand? What could be the decoration on the top of it? I see people are writing something. That makes me happy. I don't need those colors. Going to fill that in. There are times when you want to put these little lines, like I did on the hands or the hat, to help define it. I was putting lines inside the mouth to kind of help define the depth, but the color will do that. So I'm gonna leave that off. Ooh, he's angry. That is no Swiss miss right there. If you will accept that pun. Actually, even if you won't. You gotta watch out. That cocoa will get you. Now, here's the thing. We're gonna see the bottom of the foot, so put that in first. Now I want to start worrying about the sloshing cocoa. And there will be marshmallows in the cocoa, of course. I haven't looked up to see what's going on in the chat room. Marshmallows, yes. Can't have a cocoa themed anything if you're not gonna have the marshmallows. What's even the point? There we go. I think it's gonna have a wall that you're smashing through, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. There's not enough detail. We'll just have him stomping around here on this wintry steps. Let me see. Oh, marshmallow for the top of the. It's suggesting marshmallow for the top of the uh, staff. Is that what you're saying? Oh, a donut. Owen says. Of a donut with sprinkles. There we go. All right, I think we got most of it here. And I'm seeing in the background what had been part of the wall, the crashing through the wall, could become mountains in the background just to give it a little bit of a setting. I'm kind of thinking, in my head, I'm hearing this the, the mug just yelling, "Go, go!" I make that bigger? And it could be just like go. Those are looking like G's. Let's come back in here and fix that. Gotta be careful. Well, not so much you have to be careful. You have to look at it with a discerning eye and see where something you've done uh, might be misread, might be easily misread. Like I certainly wasn't trying to make those G's, and there could be an argument that, well, those certainly work as C's, but better for me to look at it and go, oh no, someone might easily misread that. I'd better go back and change it. Coco. And then I'm going to take that out and change this to, ooh, I can spell. Watch out for the melted. Wow, marshmallows is a long ass word. So either that's not going to work at all, we're going to have to move it around a little. I could get rid of more of this mountain. Watch out for Alright, I'm going to grab this now and move it up even more because I just can't seem to get that spacing right. If I do it over there, that ought to work. And again, because it's not a finished piece, I don't really have to worry about it too much. Alright, so let's turn off the sketch layer. I'm already letting myself get a little more lost in the weeds than I want to. Alright, so what am I going to start with? Well, I'll start by making sure I go to the gloaming brush this time. And we'll grab some, we'll go to the color layer. And start putting some color in. Now, I know for sure, I don't know why I know for sure, that this puffy jacket is either going to be blue or green. It just is. All the puffy jackets like this I've ever seen have been blue or green. And I'm saying blue so that the mittens can be green. Along with the hat. I think we're going to go kind of a dark red. I don't even know what color this is. A brownish red for the hat and the cloak. What would you call this color? What would you call this color I'm using for the hat and the cloak? It's not maroon, and it's a brownish red. If you left it on its own, you might just call it brown. In the same way we go with the dark blues, they're just going to get called blacks. Get looked at as blacks. But I'm not sure. Not sure what color that is. I'm usually pretty good at picking colors and having appropriate names for them, but I don't know what color that is. I see some typing going on. Hopefully you all have some good ideas for me. It doesn't really matter, right? It is what it is. It is that color. But it's nice to have something to say. Rosewood? Maybe. Alright, so speaking of dark blues that will look like blacks, that's what we're going to do for the inside of the mouth. And I'm going to go with a purplish tongue. I often make my monsters' tongues purple. And then we've got to find the right cocoa color. Maybe that. It's a little darker than I want it to be. Maybe that. Does that look? I don't know. The cocoa and coffee and brewed tea have similar colors, but they are definitely distinct colors. I'm thinking that's looking like coffee and not cocoa. Huh. Maybe that's the color I want. That's looking more like a cocoa color. Right? No, I moved away from it. Yeah, I mean, look at these two side by side. I think that this new one I've added looks more like cocoa, and the other one looks more like coffee. Maybe it's just me. I'm going to make that decision, but I'd like to know what you think. Put in the chat. What do you think? Which of those colors looks more cocoa to you? I suppose an argument actually could be made that this looks more like black coffee than the other coffee, and that then would be more coffee than cocoa. It's a personal taste, kind of like how many lumps of sugar and how much milk you want in your drink. But right now, that's saying cocoa to me. I would, if I were doing this for a finished product, I would probably color it 2 or 3 different ways on different layers and swap them in and out and see which one looked best. There's another behind the scenes tip. Sometimes that's the only way to be sure is to do them both and put them side by side. All right, so now though I do need to come back and find my marshmallows. Make sure they show up white. And once again, we're going to use a blue. We're going to presume that this mug is a white mug, a porcelain mug. And just use light blue as a shading so it seems like a clean white mug. And slightly different. Needs to be even more different. There's a slightly different version or color here for the teeth. Again, as an example of how just by adding these little lines of a different color, we make it seem like this white and this white are different things. That's my phone. Someone's texting me, which doesn't happen very often. Happens even less in the middle of a show. And yet, there it is. Good. Donut with pink glazing. All right, I think we got it. We have ourselves here. Oh, maybe the tongue needs a little something. A little something, something. All right, we've got adventurers and hot cocoa. So I'm gonna come back and grab my inking brush, and I'm gonna stick the stand down in the corner, or maybe over here on the glacier. Stand. The hot cocoa golem strikes again. Go, go. All right, let me just kind of jump back through here and see what folks say. Oh, colors. We got mauve. Mauve is a probably close. It's not. It needs to be a little more purple to be mauve. Plum. I think it's closer to mauve than plum. Dusty pink. Dusty pink's pretty good. Chartreuse. Chartreuse is a green. Rosewood. Dusty rose. Bleached out strawberry jam stain. That's right. After 6 washes, that's the color of strawberry jam. When I do the shape within the shape, use more red brown. That's a good idea, but I'm not doing it. Again, one of the reasons I'm not, as I said earlier, I don't want them to draw too much attention. So I'm really happy not to give that kind of detail on them. They're just kind of plain. Where I want your eyes to go is where I want your eyes to go is the big stomping mug of cocoa. So it gets the the shadows, a little bit of detail. Anyway, there we go. Nice third drawing, I think. I never would have seen that coming. Adventures in a hot mug of cocoa. That's what I love about having the live chat to interact with. Is you guys give me ideas I never would have come up with. I know, I know. Sometimes I will get once I get it in my head that I want to do a thing, then I overlook some good suggestions because I want to do that thing. So for those of you who that has happened to, and I know there's some of you out there, I, I'm sorry for the times I've done that. But I really love the fact that we can sit here and you guys can throw ideas that make me think of things I hadn't ever thought of. That's the fun in this show for me. I saw you wrote, I meant in the cocoa, Michael. But I looked down very quickly and looked up, and my brain processes it as mean Mr. Coco. But I'm a Beatles fan from way back in Beatles days, and so mean Mr. Mustard is it's like, oh, this is like Mr. Mustard's drink friend, mean Mr. Coco. That's how my brain doesn't work. All right, I'm going to take another drink here, and then we're going to wrap it up. You ready? You ready to go? I'm ready to go. I'm so dramatic sometimes. We had another good night with 3 drawings. We have, of course, here Adventurers versus Hot Cocoa. Before that, we had a satyr doing ice sculpture. And before that, we started off with a Ratling Ice Fishing. A lot of wintry fun here on this week's episode of Random Encounters. I want to thank everyone who joined me in the chat. So good to see you all here. Had Michael Pastor, who's here a lot. Ravenlord's been here all hour. Owen KC Stevens showed up. Thank you, my friend, for being here. Who else has been here? Random Oddities. I see is a name I don't know that I remember seeing before. Thank you for joining us. Glad to see you, and thank you for joining in the chat. Astonish Hedra. Don't know how to pronounce that. Thank you. I know Linnea was here for a while. And I know there have been some folks who've been hanging out in watching and not chatting, and that's okay too. I appreciate you being here. As I say, as everyone who does a show like this says, why don't you take, if you've been having fun, why don't you take a second and just give me a like? Whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's ringing a bell or giving the thumbs up or a like or a heart, please take a second and click that thing. It literally helps to get more people aware of what's happening. It seems like a dumb little thing. I always thought it was just all about the ego of the person watching. Ego, but you want people to like you, right? And I do. I want people to like me. But the fact of the matter is, as I've learned more, that it is super helpful in training the algorithm that this is a show that people watch and interact with and enjoy, and therefore it will show it to more people. So please give me the positive reinforcement thing. Another thing that helps a lot is comments. And those of you who've been in the chat, I know you've been commenting. Boy, do I love that. People who make comments on the video after the live feed is stopped, that's also super helpful. So if you can take a minute and say something like, just type in, fun show, so glad I showed up, or even, you could do a little better, and give me a suggestion. I'm all for suggestions. So please, I'm making a push to get more subscribers, to get this out here. I'm at we're 10 or 11 episodes away from our 100th episode of Random Encounters. And it's still very unknown. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the hottest thing online. I'm not saying that, I should be Mr. Beast. I don't even know who Mr. Beast is. I know everyone talks about him though. But I'd like, I'd like the people who would enjoy this to know about it. So again, please give me the likes, give me the comments, say whatever you want. If you have, I don't want to say criticism. If you have criticism, if you have comments for how to make things better, tell me that, please, by all means. And I'll be back next week for more reviews. No, to have another fun evening doing improv cartooning, hopefully with you. In the meantime, I hope that you take some time to grab your favorite drawing implement, pad of paper and a pencil, a notebook and a marker, or your own electronic drawing thing, and just draw for the fun of it. Just doodle what you see, doodle what you think, doodle what you see on TV. Just draw, because drawing so much fun, and I think the more you do it, the more you understand why it's just a fun activity for no other reason than for the fun of it. So get out there and do it. Do some drawing. Tell them Stan sent you. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.